It's my honour to welcome everyone to the inaugural meeting of the Timaru District Council for 2025 to 2028. I'd like to take this opportunity to say thanks on behalf of the Council to all the people who have put their hands up to represent their community, both those who have been successful this time and those who weren't. I'd also like to thank all the families present of those who are sitting with us today, who will be sharing us with them for the next 3 years. It's really important for a thriving local democracy that we have people like yourselves that are willing to stand up to do something like this. So, on behalf of the community, thank you. There's one final step to becoming the Mayor and Councillors, and that's making a public declaration that you'll serve the community to the best of your abilities for the next 3 years. So, first off that one is I'd like to welcome Nigel William Bowen to come up and make his declaration.
Thank you. I, Nigel William Bowen, declare that I will faithfully and impartially, and according to the best of my skill and judgment, execute and perform in the best interests of the Timaru District the powers, authorities and duties vested in or imposed upon me as Mayor of the Timaru District Council by virtue of the Local Government Act 2002, the Local Government Official Information and Meetings Act 1987 or any other act. Yeah, good. Thank you. Thanks very much. Cheers. Kia ora everyone. Look, thank you. I don't know why our chains are heavier than the rest of the chains across the country. Maybe there's more weight on the shoulders in Timaru. I'm not sure. Maybe that's our community. But look, it is a real honour, pleasure to be back in this seat. It's something I don't take for granted. Looking forward to working with a wonderful team, and I wouldn't say this lightly, but I'm really excited and impressed by the calibre of the governance team around the table. I'm looking forward to 3 really good years, and I think together with the senior leaders around the table as well, I think we can achieve some really good things for the community. So thank you, it is a real pleasure. So now we're going to move on, and I would welcome the first councillor up, and just as a heads up, I'll give you the opportunity, if you want to say a few words, you are more than welcome. So firstly, I would ask that Peter John Burt comes up.
Do I need my glasses? I, Peter John Burt, declare that I will faithfully and impartially and according to the best of my skill and judgment execute and perform in the best interest of the Timaru District the powers, authorities and duties vested in me or imposed upon me as a member of the Timaru District Council by virtue of the Local Government Act 2002, the Local Government Official Information and Meetings Act 1987 or any other act. Welcome everybody. Kia ora, tēnā koutou katoa, no mai, haere mai. This is my 5th time standing in this position, and in previous years we've been given a chance to speak and we're generally something off the cuff, but I just thought I might just say something given the gravity that I think of my 5th term. This is my pounamu that was given to me by Deputy Mayor Steve Wills at my last swearing in, and this signifies strength and courage, and I think they are two attributes that all councillors need to bring to the table, because it's fundamental to what we do and what's required of us. It is with profound humility and gratitude that I stand before you today to take the oath of office for my 5th term on the District Council. Public service is not a mere career choice for me, it's been embedded in my DNA. For 45 years, there has not been a single moment that I have not been engaged in some form of voluntary or public service in my community or for my country. The foundation of this commitment was forged during more than 20 years in the New Zealand Police Service that is impossible to adequately benchmark, as it involves engagement with my fellow citizens at their worst times of their lives. Yet where the difference one makes can be truly life-changing. I wear the medals today, albeit my miniatures. They represent more than just public or personal recognition. My Queen's Service Medal signified the dedication of service to New Zealand public, whilst my United Nations medals represent service in East Timor, where, despite witnessing daily hardship and enduring considerable challenges, we helped change their lives forever by supporting the Timorese people in the pursuit of their historical independence, a cause of which thousands gave their very lives. They gave their lives for the ability to vote for their democracy. The extensive catalogue of public service that has followed has led me to this moment, standing before you, making the oath of my 5th term in local government and ready to serve once more. One might reasonably assume that such a foundation would have prepared me admirably for the rigours of council life. Yet I must confess, I sometimes generally wonder the prospect of confronting armed militia in the pay of a foreign government determined to destroy the democratic process versus navigating the chamber and local government and the trials and tribulations that accompany the life as a councillor. I still weigh up the comparative challenges. On a more serious note, I acknowledge that we shoulder the solemn responsibility as councillors and in light of the imminent changes to local government, I'm prepared once again to delve deeply into the issues we face, and I look forward to working constructively with you over the next coming term. Thank you very much. Ngā mihi.
Thank you, Peter. Welcome a new member for Geraldine, Philip Francis Harper.
I, Philip Francis Harper, declare I will faithfully and impartially, and according to the best of my skill and judgment, execute and perform in the best interests of the Timaru District the powers, authorities and duties vested in or imposed upon me as a member of the Timaru District Council by virtue of the Local Government Act 2002 and the Local Government Official Information and Meetings Act 1987 or any other act. I'll decline with regret.
Alrighty, thank you and welcome on board. I now ask Owen Francis Jackson to come up.
I, Owen Francis Jackson, declare that I will faithfully and impartially and according to the best of my skill and judgment execute and perform in the best interests of the Timaru District the powers, authorities and duties vested in or imposed upon me as a member of the Timaru District Council by virtue of the Local Government Act 2002, the Local Government Official Information and Meetings Act 1987 or any other act. Thank you, everybody, and kia ora, welcome along today. In fact, I only remembered that we were supposed to do a wee speech or have a wee word to say when Peter Burt reminded us, and that's a tough act to follow. But I would just say a couple of words. I'm totally unprepared, but just that I'm very honoured to be here. It's an absolute privilege to serve my community at the highest level, which is what we do as elected members. I found the first 3 years really tough, to be honest. It was hard work, but I enjoyed every minute of the ride, and I believe that those 3 years have really set me up well for the next three. We had some really tough decisions to make in the last triennium, and I'm sure there's going to be lots of tough ones coming up in this next triennium too, but hopefully not quite as difficult. So yeah, looking really forward to it. I'd like to thank all those people that supported me through the journey. Got my son here today, but the rest of my family, I know that they support me 100%. So yeah, it's an honour to be here. Thank you.
And no, they won't be any easier, those decisions. I know what's coming up. I'd like to welcome now returning councillor Stuart Bruce Piddington.
I, Stuart Bruce Piddington, declare that I will faithfully and impartially and according to the best of my skill and judgment, execute and perform in the best interests of Timaru District the powers, authorities and duties vested in me or imposed on me as a member of the Timaru District Council by virtue of the Local Government Act 2002, the Local Government Official Information and Meetings Act 1987 and any other act.
Alrighty, welcome now Michelle Lewis-Pye. Louise. Oh. I know, I'm going to get criticised for that, aren't I? Lewis. We'll make it Lewis, hold on.
Wilhelmina. I, Michelle Louise Pye, declare that I will faithfully and impartially and according to the best of my skill and judgment execute and perform in the best interest of the Timaru District the powers, authorities and duties vested in or imposed upon me as a member of the Timaru District Council by virtue of the Local Government Act 2002, the Local Government Official Information and Meetings Act 1987 or any other act. Thank you. Oops.
It's interesting that some of the people that generally have the most to say are declining to speak. I'd like to welcome now Stacey Ellis-Scott.
Thank you. I, Stacey Ellis Scott, declare that I will faithfully and impartially and according to the best of my skill and judgment execute and perform in the best interests of Timaru District the powers, authorities and duties vested in or imposed upon me as a member of the Timaru District Council by virtue of the Local Government Act 2002, the Local Government Official Information and Meetings Act 1987 or any other act.
Welcome now Robert Scott Shannon.
Couldn't have printed a bigger font for us, could you? I, Robert Scott Shannon, declare that I will faithfully and impartially and according to the best of my skill and judgment execute and perform in the best interests of the Timaru District the powers, authorities and duties vested in or imposed upon me as a member of the Timaru District Council by virtue of the Local Government Act 2002, the Local Government Official Information and Meetings Act 1987 or any other act. I will take this opportunity to say a few more words than Michelle Pye and Stacey Scott, actually. I do just want to briefly thank, of course, my ward, the Present Point Temuka ward, for electing me back here this term. I'm very appreciative, but because my family is here today, I wanted to acknowledge them publicly, not just because my kids will hate me for it and I don't get many opportunities to do that, but I genuinely do appreciate, in particular, the support of my beautiful Carol and my dad, Mike. Thank you very much.
And just to note, that's first time elected. Yeah. No free ride this time, so congratulations to the two of you. I'd like to welcome now Christopher Robert Thomas.
I, Christopher Robert Thomas, declare that I will faithfully and impartially and according to the best of my skill and judgment execute and perform in the best interests of the Timaru District the powers, authorities and duties vested in or imposed upon me as a member of the Timaru District Council by virtue of the Local Government Act 2002, the Local Government Official Information and Meetings Act 1987 or any other act.
Congratulations.
Just a quick thank you to my family. My wife Jill is here supporting me today, and to all of those people who supported me through their campaign. I look forward to a triennium, which is a new word, and to working with you, all the rest of my fellow councillors. Thank you.
And lucky last, I would like to welcome Graham Leslie Wilson.
I, Graham Leslie Wilson, declare that I will faithfully and impartially and according to the best of my skill and judgment execute and perform in the best interests of the Timaru District the powers, authorities and duties vested in or imposed upon me as a member of the Timaru District Council by virtue of the Local Government Act 2002, the Local Government Official Information and Meetings Act 1987, and any other act. Afternoon, folks. I just want to take a quick moment to publicly acknowledge my family, my wife and children, who have been the biggest encourager throughout this process, and to all those others who they know who they are, who encouraged me to bring my name forward and to stand for council. I just want to say I'm looking forward to the next 3 years. I've been told it's going to be challenging. We've had some great words of wisdom from management here, and I dare say the 3 years are going to be interesting, to say the least. But one thing I can assure you is I'll be a very active participant in the issues that are important to the people of the Timaru District Council. Thank you.
Alrighty, too easy. I did plan this to thank my wife right at the end. It's not that I missed it all. I just thought I'd leave that till last. But again, there's always people in your life that allow you to do what you do, and we lead quite a hectic life. But I do thank my beautiful wife Jane and our family for allowing me to do this. Without her support, I wouldn't be able to do it, so it is a real pleasure. So look, thank you. Congratulations to all of you. I genuinely am really excited about the council and the 3 years ahead of us. There is some really tough decisions, one being the revenue and rates review. That's about as exciting as local government gets, so that's your life for the next 3 years. But it is going to be something that we need to do, but will be really contentious. So yeah, there's going to be some challenging decisions in front of us. And I remember very early on being within the council as a councillor under Mayor Damon, and we discussed the Alpine Energy sale, and after that, and it sort of tore the community in two. And after that, I always thought, that's pretty big. There's not likely to be anything else that big that comes up and challenges us. But I guarantee there will be something. There's always something the next week that comes and challenges us. But I think we've got a great team, and I genuinely mean this as well. I think we've got a great team, and when I say team, I mean elected members and the senior leadership under Nigel, who is obviously on leave at the moment. But I think we can achieve some great things if we work collaboratively together, bearing in mind that we can still have differences of opinion, but when we come together, work hard together, we can achieve some really cool things. So that's it from me. We're now going to just adjourn for 20 or 30 minutes, and then we'll come back to the meeting proper. There'll be the opportunity to have some photos, a bit of a mix and mingle with family, and then we'll come into the meeting. And you are more than welcome to stay for the meeting if you wish. Thank you. Righty, kia ora everyone, welcome. We will get started into the meeting proper. So just because it's our first time together and we are learning the new computers, etc., if we're not keeping up, and that's going to be work in progress. Some are still on iPads, which you might be in a better seat, actually. We'll see how that goes. But if you're not keeping up as far as pages, etc., just give me a holler and we'll just slow down. We've got plenty of time to get through what we need to get through. So call for apologies. I don't think there is any. No public forum. No items of urgent business. Wouldn't expect any matters of minor nature just yet. Maybe next week. And then we'll go to declaration of conflicts of interest. Probably not likely to be. We can just note membership of Venture Timaru for Councillor Scott. But outside of that, that's only in regard to the AGM, the proxy, but other than that we should be fine. So we now go to 8, which is 7.3, which is election of the Deputy Mayor. I think it's important. We've done this in a variety of ways over the last few years, but Scott Shannon was the Deputy in the last triennium. I would like to suggest that Scott stays in that role. Open for discussion, but I'd happily move Deputy Mayor. Do we have to do the voting system first?
Under Section A, I'll move Section A if you like.
Section A technically is it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
And I'll second your nomination.
Okay. I'll second the. We'll do the voting system first. So I'll second the voting system. We'll put the motion for the voting system. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against, carried. So I've got a seconder for Scott Shannon as Deputy Mayor. Is there any comments? Anyone else want to put anyone forward? I know that's an uncomfortable room. If not, I will put the motion to the vote. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. Congratulations, Scott. You are Deputy Mayor for the next triennium. Well done. And I was asked to, over the weekend, to make some comments to the paper around the new council, some of the things that I'm looking forward to. Asked the question around Deputy Mayor, and I said that I would be nominating Scott. And I mentioned last time Scott had a very high level of integrity, work ethic. I just knew no matter what, if I couldn't make something, you would attend. And I did also note that he has a wonderful party trick that he can play the bagpipes, where most of us can't do that. So lots of qualities. But thank you, and I know it will be a lot of hard work for the next 3 years again, but I'm sure you're up to the task, so congratulations. We'll move now to what is that? Oh no, there we go, sorry. I've got a separate agenda from what's on my screen. 7.4, general explanation by the Chief Executive. And welcome, Elliot.
Through the chair, while Elliot's sitting down, this paper is one of the many procedural ones you'll see today. What this is doing is outlining some of the laws that now apply to you as local councillors. They're mainly around probity and prudence and not doing anything dodgy. If you have any specific questions to them, we'll take them as read and understood in context of this morning's workshop. If you have any specific questions, I'm sure Elliot will be able to help you.
Alrighty, any questions in regard to this? And I guess just I'll slowly work through a lot of the stuff we've covered in some of the legal induction sort of information from this morning. But if there's anything specific that anyone's got marked as questions, even just to explain something, please let us know. No, all pretty comfortable.
The only addition from this morning's
Thank you,
conversation, I think, was the last one, the Financial Markets Conduct Act, and that's essentially a probity standard for companies that are issuing securities. We're not in that position, and if we did, we'd fully go into that. But that's one of the required ones that we have to bring to your attention. So that was I think the only new one from this morning's conversation.
Thank you. And the Secret Commissions Act 1910.
Yeah, it's a good
Is
one.
that one of the good pieces of legislation you were referring to?
Missed out. 1908 is really the cut-off.
Okay,
right. So this is another probity one. Prohibits secret commissions. It's based on the principle that a person in a position of trust should not profit from that office. Every council officer or member is deemed to be an agent of the council for the purposes of this act, which provides, and I don't know whether people want me to go through each of those things, but it's essentially, it's where you're corruptly accepting or obtaining benefits at the same time as the organisation is engaging in that act. You succeed in obtaining a windfall there. It's a relatively serious offence. It doesn't get prosecuted that often in New Zealand and not at any local authority I'm aware of. DHBs maybe. But it does happen. Dunedin had a DHB case involving secret commissions in the, I think, early 2010s, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. So that's effectively receive note, and that crosses council and community boards. Can I have a mover for that? Councillor Pye. Councillor Shannon, any further discussion? If not, I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. So then we go to 7.5 on page 17, and that's council appointments and delegations to community boards. Do you want to talk through that? Yeah, perfect.
Again, through the chair, as the councillors aren't voted onto the community boards, you have to appoint councillors onto them. They need to be in the ward, so we have suggested Councillor Harper for Geraldine Community Board, Councillors Pye and Shannon for Pleasant Point and Tunumiku Community Boards. It's pretty straightforward, but it just gives them full rights and obligations for that community board as well.
And then I just want to note, because there was just a slight change in regard to the delegations, but we did make a change to E. So I think it's E. If the community board considered it appropriate to make a decision to an external body, organisation on a matter, this must be consulted on with the chief executive and raised for determination by the board within an agenda. So that just means it's discussed properly. It's an agenda item, and it goes through the appropriate channels, and that's just to keep the community board safe and also ourselves safe, because we don't want to be submitting on something and then having a completely different view from a community board that we didn't know a submission had been made on. Probably not likely to have such a contrasting view. It's not to say that they can't submit on something, but we just want to know that that's happening, so it's really protections, if you like. So any questions or discussions around those appointments? No. If not, Councillor Scott, thank you. Councillor Wilson, well done. You got on the sheet early. Nice work. Any further discussion? No. I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. And then we go to 22, which is item 7.6, and that is delegations to the chief executive.
Through the chair. Again, this is another procedural one. This is what enables the chief executive to do his job. As noted, he is the only employee of the councillors. So in order him to do his job, you've got to delegate him certain powers, which he can then delegate down to staff within the organisation. However, that is limited by the council's significant and engagement policy. So then that brings things back up to council for you to talk to and to make decisions on. If there's any further questions, either myself or Mr Higby can help.
Thank you. Any questions? Yep, Councillor Pye.
So I just had a couple on this one, and and I'm not sure I'll get any answers, but 5.13 and 5.14 I've kind of struggled with in the past because we authorise to commit to any expenditure exceeding they can't exceed the current annual plan and long-term plan, but at what level does that kick in? Because, you know, if you go line by line, that's too restrictive, but if you're just going total expenses and all of a sudden interest rates drop and you've got an extra $2 million slushing around the system, it just feels a bit loose to me. And the same with the next one. What is an existing function? And we've had some great examples of where we've stopped some certain things like the supply of doggy do bags that caused havoc in our community. That, you know, so I just kind of think those two are a bit loose, and how do we get that better?
So just looking at the report, so the council's reserved those following powers. Yes, so the chief executive can't do those things.
So what I'm saying is in the past, there's obviously been examples of when they have done those things without us knowing, and they're so minor you kind of want them to do. I just feel the words existing function or commence any new significant activity could possibly be defined a bit further so we're all clear, and as well as the exceeding expenditure that's in the annual long-term plan. At what level? Is it just CapEx or is it operational? We're always going over a budget and we just keep spending.
These are under the Act though, yes, so they...
I'm not a numbers, through the chair, I'm not a numbers guy, so I'm not going to answer the AP, LTP one, but obviously the significant activity is the word that fluctuates with there, and that's where the significance and engagement policy drives that. As far as the, as 513, I'll leave that to more financially minded.
Something we're going to change today, but I just think it is, if you don't get that wording right, and it's about protecting the CE. They don't make a decision that they thought they were allowed to make and then find themselves in strife with council because we didn't think they should make it.
A suggestion through the chair is, so these powers being reserved are going to need to locate within the terms of reference for either subordinate decision-making committees or the council, and possibly there it might be useful to have some examples.
Thank you. And so this would have been the first time that new councillors have seen the delegations manual. Quite a nice read. Obviously a lot in that, but that's how council operates, is through delegations effectively. But if there's something that you want further information about that you don't feel comfortable asking today, we can come back to a lot of this work and we'll do further work on it, just to help elected members better understand delegation. So it's a bit of a work in progress. Yeah. Cool. Okay, so based on that, I'm happy to move the recommendation that Council endorses the delegations to the Chief Executive as set out in the attached first 21 pages of the delegation manual. Second it, Councillor Jackson, thank you. Any further discussion? No, we'll put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. Move now to 7.7, which is on page 47. Go for it.
Through the chair. So prior to adoption of the full council calendar, this is a meeting to fix two ordinary meetings in the calendar in the near future. So that's to be held on the 31st of October, primarily for the signing off of the annual report, and on the 4th of November to proceed matters not able to proceed at this report. Following that, at that meeting, we'd be expecting to be adopting the 2026 meeting schedule, which will be presented in normal timescales for that meeting. Any questions?
No, that's cool. I'm happy to move that again from the chair. Seconder, Councillor Burt. Any further discussion? No, I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. And so on the 4th, there'll be a little bit of stuff, again, procedural, that will come to the meeting on the 4th. to set committees and some other things up for the balance, sort of spread across to this meeting and the next meeting. Obviously, the 31st is just the adoption of the annual report, which will be new to all of the new elected members, but we've already looked at the draft annual report prior to the last triennium finishing, so the crossover elected members will be more aware of that piece of work. So now we go to 7.8. Did I move that? I did, didn't I? Yes, thank you, Jess. We go to 7.8, which is adoption of the Code of Conduct.
Took a break at this meeting through the chair. This is for adoption of the Code of Conduct. We're legally required to have one under the Local Government Act. The one that we are proposing is unchanged from 2022. It seemed to prove well, and it's based on a national model developed by LGNZ and Taitawara, which fits most of the country. We do make some small changes where required to meet our local needs, but otherwise it's fairly consistent with other councils throughout the country. There's two options here. You can either approve the Code of Conduct as proposed, or you can approve it with some amendments made. You cannot currently revoke the current existing Code of Conduct without resolving a new one, so the current one will just stay in place until the new one is adopted.
Questions? Probably not. No, Code of Conduct. Happy to have someone move. Yes, yeah, question. Councillor Thomas, go for it.
On page 56, 5.2.V1, observe any protocols put in place by the Chief Executive concerning contact between members and employees. Is there any such thing put already in place? And can you let us know what that would be, if there is?
So it's 5.2, which one, sorry? Oh, yep. There's some general practice rather than protocols as such. We've never really had to test that rule with any great vigour, to put it that way. I mean, the usual expectation is that you don't really contact directly anyone above a tier 2, so that's a senior leader in this regard. At the end of the day, in the strictest terms, the Chief Executive is the only person working for the Council, so that should be where all things go. But for practical reasons, sometimes you want to talk to the subject expert on that, so it would be at that sort of level. We tend not to see you going down to staff at any level below the senior managers at that point. Other than that, it's just that sort of polite respectness, etc., that goes with that as well. But again, we've not had to put a protocol in place because we've not really stressed the problem.
Yeah, it's largely there as a potential protection for staff. You have had examples whereby there are councils where elected members wouldn't be able to go past that door. They'd come and meet with the Chief Executive out in a room for reasons that were probably fine at the time. But we've maintained a pretty open relationship. Most of the key people that you'll need to talk to are in this room now. However, you will over time develop relationships with other people, and there's nothing to say that you can't talk with those individuals, but this is just more protection if there was something to go array. Councillor Pye.
This is something that we raised in the submission to the changes that the government is suggesting making, and it's not really reflected in this one, but when a complaint is made by a member of public, should we have something more in there about proving identity or supplying a name, address and phone number rather than just a random email address?
It's a good question because we've had some challenges in around that, the faceless complainant,
I don't think Brendan's in here, but I think we included, I can't
exactly
see him, sorry Brendan. We included in the submission that you should at least be able to provide a phone number and address and full name.
Yeah.
And that's not reflected in here on this one. Is
No,
that
no, it's a
something
good
we should
question.
look
I'm not sure if we
to
can at this stage, can we?
I guess through the chair, my caution would be that it's the substance of complaints that's important, not in the first instance, and the identity and the identification of the complainant as a second order consideration once you look at the complaint. We all can imagine anonymous complaints that the substance of them need to be acted upon regardless, and so any blanket rule, I think, would be inappropriate and also cut across some of our protected disclosure obligations. I think that the potential weakness in the process, as a sort of a candid observation, is the threshold test, and so it's like, how do you go about receiving a complaint and then giving it that initial sift, and that's step 1, 2. Yeah, so we're on page 73, and I'm looking here at the investigation process, and you see that you get to step 3 before you get the preliminary assessment, and maybe, you know, to what extent is a chief executive going to feel comfortable making any preliminary assessment? And I suggest most of the time not. You know, most of the time you're going to want to get some sort of like independent steer on it. It really depends on the subject matter. I think in the end, the subject matter of the complaint should be the primary driver of how a council responds to a complaint, and the second order identity factor. I mean, if it's a frivolous complaint, then the lack of a clear identification is clearly going to, you know, lead you to a far more terse response. Yep.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, sorry, a lot of words. But.
Correct me if I'm wrong, it's covered by the procedures of natural justice anyway, so you'd have to be very careful that you step through that process correctly, the detection and potentially the witness or the complainant and specifically the councillor involved.
Yes, natural justice is going to be a factor. New Zealand doesn't have a constitutional right, as in America, to challenge your accuser. There's a couple other sort of common law principles that step in there. I mean, it's a natural justice consideration. In the first instance, it's going to be the complaint, and then to what extent does the identity or lack of identity alter the weight of that complaint? And so in my view, that's the appropriate way of addressing identity issues, and that's something that would need to be factored into the preliminary assessment at step 3. But obviously, from the point of view of the subject of a complaint, you're still getting investigated for a preliminary assessment. But I think it's impossible to do so otherwise. Yep. You know, like reflecting this, like criminal law, we used to have depositions, and they were like grand jury and they were private, and people would have their complaints, like, you know, litigated in a court, and then it might not go ahead. These days, it's signed statements, they don't get interrogated, and all of a sudden you're in. But, you know, so that's the converse of what you're talking about here, is essentially removing depositions.
Threshold for protected disclosures would have to be extremely high, though, wouldn't it?
Protected disclosures have a statutory serious misuse, or there's a serious word in the threshold from,
yes.
This is different. This is not a statutorily, it's a different threshold here, driven by materiality that sort of goes back to the council's reputation.
Awesome. So Councillor Pye had a mover. Councillor Burt, happy to second that. Any further questions? No, I'll put the motion for adoption of the Code of Conduct. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. So move now to 7.9 on page 78, which is adoption of standing orders.
Through the chair, this is another procedural paper, but one you get to make a decision on. So we're legally obliged to have standing orders, which are, as Elliot put it earlier, the operating system which the council meetings run with. In this one, we do have some discretion. We highlight, in this case, a view on casting votes, speaking and moving, and workshops, and whether they're open or closed. We're also proposing that under the LGA we are allowing people who come in by video or audio link to count as quorum. We would ask that you seek approval from the chairperson before the meeting where possible. The decision you have to make today is on one of three frameworks for speaking and moving. There is an option A, which is sort of best practice, and it's the most formal of the three, and it has quite a structured format for speaking and moving amendments. Option B is a bit less formal, and then option C is the least formal of the three options. The proposed standing orders have option A included, and this is the default which was adopted in the standing orders for the last triennium, but you have to choose which one you want to go with. If there's any questions, either myself or Elliot will be happy to answer them.
And so historically we've sort of used A for council, we've used B for committees, and C, which is more informal, has been used across community boards. I think and it was interesting on that induction on Friday. Certainly the comments from the presenters were, use the full extent of your standing orders, only when required. But where it does have benefit is if there's a contentious issue. And it gives fairness to speakers. So if there's something that the council potentially is split on, it does very much spell out what you can and can't do, and it doesn't mean what it would mean is not one individual is or a couple of individuals are holding stage or what have you, if you like. So look, I mean, I'm comfortable with either A or B, and we'll continue to run certainly this meeting as we have. However, because we're likely to move a lot of stuff to council, we just probably need to be a little bit more disciplined as a council collective around what is questions and what are statements, and trying to have an efficient meeting so we can get outcomes ultimately for the officers to move ahead on. So, I'm comfortable with A, but equally comfortable with B. I think probably C, in my view, would be more for a community board or more informal subcommittee as such. Yeah. So I'm happy to move A then. Second, or happy with discussion. Yeah, Councillor Pye.
I should have just spoken when I did my declaration, shouldn't I? The only thing that I was concerned about in here is, and I may have read this wrong, but C allows for the mover and seconder to move and second an amended motion, and I feel like we do that quite a lot. Whereas option A didn't allow that. Like sometimes you'd have somebody move a motion, would debate it, and then would suggest a change, and would just go back to the original mover and say, you're happy with that change? Yeah. And I felt like C reflected that better than A.
Yeah, and I think that's...
But given that nobody's called a point of order, we're probably okay with A and carrying on as usual.
Yeah. I think most of the stuff we're probably operating at a sort of C level. It's just that opportunity, if is needed, that you can raise it up to A, and then that's if you're at that level as far as default, it makes sense in my view, but happy to be challenged on that. Yeah. So you're happy to second that. So that's A. Any further discussion? No. And we can have discussions at the start of meetings around suspending of standing orders, those sorts of things. Standing orders allows to suspend itself. Or aspects of it. So if there's no further discussion, I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. So we are now at 7:10 on 2:40. Yes, so we got that memo out? Yeah, perfect. Okay, no worries. So this, I've talked to most of you about proposed structure, so Megan's just going to drop that around. And you take the opportunity to have a read through it. This is what sort of I discussed with most of you, and there's further work to do, and we'll try and have everything stood up by the 4th of November as those. So have a read first. I'll give you a couple of minutes to have a read through, and then I will just talk to you the graphic at the back. Alrighty, I'll talk through it as well. So we're just effectively accepting this today. We're not deciding on end structures. So it's still a work in progress, and I want to make sure that everyone's in agreement around getting the best for council from this. So I'll just talk to, it's probably a couple of key things. Previously we've had the committee structure, the full committee structure. So under this, that is gone. The ones in green are the committees that sort of have to be in, well, there's lots that have to be in place. but don't all meet that often. Audit and risk and people and performance quarterly. Hearings as and when is needed, tenders as and when is needed, directors and trustee appointment committee as and when is needed, the licensing committee, which is across the councils, meets effectively, Peter, when is needed, when is required, as required. Yeah, and it as, yeah. Yep. And then obviously not obviously, sorry, I won't assume, to the side you've got the joint committees, which you've got Downlands, and then we've got the joint alcohol policy committee, so those are committees across the three councils. And then so if we go down to the pink, we've got lots of smaller committees that again meet when is required and or quarterly, so Safer Communities is quarterly, and that's a group of some of you been on from a community point of view. So that's quarterly for a couple of hours. Rates remissions, that's just when is needed. Youth initiatives is on a quarterly, isn't it? I think community funding is 6 monthly. Local arts is quarterly. Councillor Scott, Councillor Piddington, I think it's quarterly, isn't it? Yeah, sorry, I wasn't on last time. Yeah, sister cities again, largely managing the relationship with Inaugural and the student exchange, and that's quarterly. Hall of Fame, sort of as and when is needed. Community Awards Selection Committee, again when is needed, but we need these committees to be stood up. And then off to the side is the two that I've discussed, and there will be another one to come in once there's been some more thought and discussion with all of you on that. But the development one that talks to the planning and building development, you like that word? Eh? Sorry. Yeah. We ditched regulatory, but development, so and with a lens and a connection to economic development for the region. That is still separate in the CCO, but focus more on development. Then the projects, as we discussed this morning, key projects for us, stadium, theatre, museum, Claremont Water, financial system. So it's how you bring all those together to be governed in a similar way with so that membership, when we get to that in a couple of weeks' time, it won't be specific around if you've got an interest in a theatre versus a financial system. Actually, the governance approach is actually across the projects as opposed to a specific project. So that'll tidy that all up into one, and then also off to the side, just working through a third edition, which would be and around the financial controls, budgetary, and some of those. So we'll just work through terms of reference. So for that, Councillor Jackson.
For those of us that are already on some of these project committees, so will we remain on those committees, or will that be up for negotiation?
Yeah, we'll work through that. So, and we've got to work through how. So that we've got the stadium. We've got a couple actually. So we've got the Claremont one that needs to be stood up in some shape or form. We've got theatre and museum, and then we've got the stadium that have got their own committees. But the ideal is how we integrate that. But there's some flexibility on how we do that, and then the idea would be to have consistency on council day, so they'd be incorporated into a Tuesday as opposed to ideally as opposed to meeting on other days, so we can try and get it all around a Tuesday, but they might have membership of 4 or 5 people versus a committee of the whole, which is 10 as well. So look, it's discussion. Again, probably the thing I want to emphasise to people is that all, as an elected member for the Timaru District Council, you can come and sit on any committee. Your voice will be heard, but when it comes to those, we may only want 5 or 6 members, but it doesn't stop you from attending and partaking within that meeting as well if you've got a specific interest in a project versus multiple projects. Further questions? So and this is just receive a note at this point. Councillor Piddington.
So local water done well would be like in projects? Or how does that?
Yeah, no, that's one I think we just all need to think through how we manage that. But
okay.
yeah, that's sort of off to the side. That's a really good point. Yeah, yeah. But it could be, and I'm not. I'm not. I don't have the answer yet. Councillor Pye.
I always think simple's better. Could you not combine the Hall of Fame and the Community Awards, given how often or how seldom we need them and how similar they are?
I think the key thing is that, I don't disagree. We could, I'm just not sure on the rules on those sort of things, but if we can tidy them pull them together, that makes sense.
We'd have to double check the terms of reference, just as long as they're compatible at the same time.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's possible.
There's a couple that receive government funding, youth initiatives, local art, so they'd have to be, separate. But definitely. So I'm just going to get some water. Excuse me. Sorry. Further questions?
I just have one, Nigel, just around your vision for the subcommittee. So these will be live streamed agendas.
Yeah.
Chairs, yeah. And so, because obviously my concern with the drop down is transparency to our community and accountability. So so they'll be live streamed too.
Yeah, and I think it's a really good point, and I think actually it might raise some of those other things that we would more have a working group type approach that will actually raise up to that level as far as governance. So if you think through that, some of those projects that, the stadiums and those sort of things, I think you've got to balance what might be more operational and what needs to come up to governance, and that will be a work through. There again, part of this is not around creating more work, but having a sort of leaner governance structure. So look, if there's some things that we or I happy to take ownership for it get wrong, I'm happy to be challenged on it, and we can make some changes if it's not achieving the goals that we're setting out to achieve. So that's a bit of flex. But I think to your point, I think it could actually raise some of those things that potentially a working group or a steering group that could then be in this manner. So I think the only thing that we might need to think through is if we're having a smaller group meeting, if we don't potentially need the chamber, it might be the meeting room one. So are we set up for having that live streamed, or at least put up? Probably this is the room that's set up for live streaming. So just a couple of technical hoops, nothing we can't work through. There you go. It's not like an elected member to create more work for staff, but that's the theory. Councillor Pye.
Sorry, I needed my glasses and then I still struggled to read it. It's that small bit. I know you've called the pink ones subordinate but decision-making committees, and I think it's our standing orders or must be standing orders, refers to subcommittees, and I think there's a difference in there. Council officers can be members of subcommittees but not committees. And yes, so I just kind of wondered, what do you mean by subordinate, and that we don't trip ourselves up? I don't need an answer here,
totally,
but we don't trip ourselves up there. If the intention is that council officers can be members of committees, we need to make sure it aligns with the
standing orders.
Standing orders, that's the word I'm looking for. Thanks.
Yeah, through the chair, good points. Yes, you're correct. The officers are only able to be members of subcommittees. It's really a linguistic issue with the different parts of the Act having different definitions of committee. And the clearest, easiest way to do is, in my view, was to make them subordinate decision-making committees so that they could report directly to council rather than being a subcommittee of a committee. So a little bit of a, but we'll work that through in the terms of reference, but the terms of reference will actually identify the legal base, and then we can have whatever name we want on top. So that, because I know that people don't want to say subordinate decision-making body, but I don't want us to get into a problem where we've got a subcommittee that doesn't have a committee that's reporting to, and then people are like, well, that doesn't work. You're right about the membership, and then there was one other aspect of constraint around those things. The membership, minimum membership for a subcommittee can go down to 2. But yeah, linguistics, and you're correct about membership, and the terms of reference will be clear as to legal basis, and then the name will be the vernacular, so we don't have to say obnoxious things.
That if is a defined legal term.
Can I just ask a follow-on question to you, Elliot, with regards to that? So if the subordinate committee has the decision-making authority, then it comes to council, can it be overturned at the council level?
It's a good question. It depends on what's delegated. When the council delegates, they delegate the shoes, and then that becomes the council's decision. The council can't rescind it, can't amend it. They can make a new decision, which means they have to grapple with the reasoning behind the previous one. So, yeah.
These mainly relate to the pink ones that generally we've always either tacitly supported or directly supported through delegation for most of those decisions.
Yeah. And so probably the other key that talks, or similar point around non-elected, whether it's staff and or people from outside, is that point 10, which we've just included. So it does give you that ability, such as local water done well. Sitting in the back, we've had Mark Rogers as an example. So you could appoint a non-elected member to those subordinate committees in that regard to bring the skill set in specifically.
So then I'm struggling to understand the difference between the green and the pink. Like, why don't we just have them, if they all report to council and none of them are subcommittees, why aren't they all just on the green line?
I think through the chair, because previously they were subcommittees.
Yeah,
And,
but if there's not really any distinction between them, why don't we just make them all green?
I think it's just a graphics constraint.
Perception.
Yep.
Yeah, no, it's just to help. It's just to help aid the conversation today.
I think when we line them all up, it was
But
an A3
effectively,
on sub.
they're all equal, aren't they?
I was thinking
kind
we'd
of
have
reporting terms.
Sorry.
Yep.
This graphics are great.
But we've
Pink was
Sorry, the colours aren't my point. I'm just like, they look like they're a 2-tier thing, but they're not actually,
no, they're
are
not
they?
tiers at all.
Yeah.
No.
will be tiers. I mean, yeah.
And we can.
The pink is if you take the last 2 boxes out, pink is basically what community services were.
Look, we could have made the D and the projects a different colour, but anyway, council.
So just to clarify, all those ones in pink, including the development and projects, would have a chair and an elected member or members, depending on whatever the rules are, appointed to them. Is that my understanding?
Yeah,
Okay.
and we'll do that all on the 4th. Yeah. So we'll appoint chairs on the 4th. Yeah. And so, look, this is going to be new for everyone, and so we just have to work through it. But probably the key ones as far as where our agenda is and what we want to achieve is probably the development and the projects and the other one. So, look, whoever's got interest in across those things, if everyone wants to attend, they can attend. And we'll make sure they're scheduled at different times so people can attend those within the Tuesday. Right. we're just receiving a note, so obviously there's more work to do in this space. So, yeah, happy to move otherwise. Yeah, I do want to get any other discussion points if there's anything that's been missed at this stage. No, happy to second. Yep. Okay, so mover and seconder. Put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. So we go now to 7.11, and that's on page 241, which is external appointments. Policy. Welcome, Brendan.
Good afternoon, Council. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. This is the first of, I suppose, a suite of 3 policies that come to Council at the beginning of trienniums. And this policy asks Council to consider and adopt the proposed external governance appointments policy. Basically, it's the framework for how Council appoints members to external bodies and also looks to appoint external members to its bodies. I'll take the report substantively as read. There are a few proposed material changes which are outlined at point 12 in the Council report in the agenda on page 242, but by and large it's based on the existing policy, which itself received a substantial overhaul just over 18 months ago. I'm very happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Thanks, Brennan. Any questions?
There's some writing in there that would have to be changed that reflect our previous structure that would need to be changed. Case in point 12.1 in relation to Arawhenua, and speaking of them, they were part of and did used to show up for environmental services, but but that would have to reflect that, wouldn't it? That'll fit under your minor nature type changes, non-material, I should say.
Councillor Burt, I would suspect so, and also fully appreciate that depending on the outcome of your considerations for your committee structure, the committee itself may not exist. I note that it exists in the memo that was just circulated, sort of the starting position, but yes, fully appreciate that might need to change. The whole intention of the 2 and 3 in the recommendation is to enable Council's intention through the policy to continue to be reflected through things such as change of committee structures, change of job titles, etc., so that we don't end up with policies referring to things that are out of date. Yeah, but that you still have the assurance that what you've substantially asked for and the intention that you've got continues to be reflected in the policy, if that makes sense.
Cool. Thank you. Further, Councillor Jackson.
So, Brendan, why have we, just out of curiosity, the writing in red, why have we taken out while ensuring sufficient transparency and objectivity? Why have we taken those out of 1.2 and 3?
That's a good question. I proposed the removal of that on the pure basis that the wording confused me, and I asked a few other people if they sort of thought that it added any value, and I think the response I received there was no. I think the purpose of the policy under those points is that it provides that framework. The appendix, the fact that the actual process that's outlined in one of the appendices allows the Chief Executive to amend the process slightly to reflect the needs of the particular body, whether it be Venture Timaru, THL, etc., gives that a certain degree of flexibility. But yeah, those words in particular were removed on the pure basis that they look confusing and didn't seem to add particular value at that point.
Otherwise happy? Yeah, okay, so go to recommendations, 1, 2 and 3. And yeah, happy to move those. Councillor Shannon, yeah, thank you. Seconder, Councillor Pye, yep. Any further discussion? If not, I'll move the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. Thank you. Staying with policy, 7.12, public excluding meetings and workshop policy on page 257. Thanks, Brendan.
Thank you very much, Mayor Bowen. This is the second policy being brought for your consideration today. Again, it asks that you consider and adopt the proposed public excluded meetings and workshop policy. I am thankful for some feedback received to date. So, Deputy Mayor Shannon, thank you for noting that under point 19, amended should not be struck out. That was a mistake by me, so thank you for correcting me on that. And I'd ask that that's reflected in any decision made by Council today. I also note that any change that you might make to the committee structure might again impact this policy in some way, particularly in terms of part 2 of the policy, where if I can just scroll to the correct part, bear with me just one moment. So at clause 61 of the policy, which is on page 266 in your agenda, for example, clause 61, it says meetings of council and its standing committees are to be live streamed and recorded. A copy of the recording is to be made publicly available. This was written prior to the election and the envisagement that there would be a change in that committee structure, so perhaps we can modify that language depending on where your decision lands on the 4th of November, but to Councillor Burt's point before, perhaps that applies to the non-material aspect. I think the key consideration there and the intent of the policy is that the meetings of council, being this body, and also its committees that report to council, where there's the capacity to record those, are recorded. The acting chief executive has, may wish to speak to this, has some further thoughts, or I've had discussions with the acting chief executive around the ability and feasibility of extending recordings to, for example, community boards, and there are possible but also technical challenges there and considerations that need to be made around the quality of that product. But that is probably the main change that would be straight or within scope to make the policy as outlined in clause 13 of the report. Other than that, I'll just simply note that the policy appears to be performing well to date. Again, it was overhauled just over 18 months ago, and at least based on my recent survey of other local authorities relatively close to home, we seem to perform well and favourably in regards to just our accessibility and transparency. I'm very happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
It's good to see some high-performance policy, Brendan. Great to see it working well. Councillor Piddington.
Brendan, I was interested, point 10, we're obviously the best in Canterbury. How did Canterbury stack up against the rest of the country? Are we the best house in the worst street, or are we the best house in the best street?
That's a good question that I don't know the answer to be perfectly honest. I haven't looked at all or a broad survey of councils. The ones that I looked at were Ashburton, Waimate, Mackenzie. Those were 3 that I thought were close to home and comparable. As a general rule, the bigger the council, the more resources they have. Also, the more, how do I put this, the more meaty topics and topics of public interest will be dealt with by lower tier committees and subcommittees, and therefore it's more of public interest to make those more accessible. So no, I don't have a good response to your question there. I don't know the answer, but I can go away and have a look if you wish to do a bit of a random sample of Auckland, Hamilton, Dunedin.
No, I don't want to waste your time, but I just thought it was interesting. But
just anecdotally, and that's always a bad one to use as an example, but interesting around the Millwall Forum table and just having conversations with the different mayors on what they would have in public versus what we do, and I would say we're probably at the top of that list, especially after the last report. It's amazing who still aren't actually on live streaming of meetings. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think we're probably doing a pretty good job, but it probably actually brings us to, I'll bring you to point 16, which, just quote to your elected members, may wish to consider what for them an accessible and transparent council looks like. the extent to which they consider the status quo requires amendment, and how they might trade this off against staffing and resource requirements, etc. So, it could be the fact that the discussion before around those subordinate committees, some of those are coming up, and so they're actually might be live streamed potentially, whereas they wouldn't in the past because of the availability and that. But obviously there would be staffing requirements to that, because there needs to be someone to sit in the back and do the live streaming, etc. So it's to find that balance. But I think there's often, especially around, election time, you can have the whole transparency card, is kicked around a whole lot. But, from looking at their back to their ombudsman report on best practice, meeting guide, etc., I think we're doing pretty well. So that's probably actually the benchmark as opposed to other councils. That document, I think it's 11 pages or what have you, is sitting there. So if we can benchmark ourselves against what the ombudsman is expecting, and if we can meet all of that criteria, then to me that's probably makes pretty good sense. And we will do some further training on that to make sure you're over it. So you don't necessarily have to decide or answer that question in 16 today. If there's some things that you think as a new elected member or an existing elected member, things that you think, actually, I'm going to challenge this, I think this should be discussion in public versus public excluded, that's your right to do so. And I would encourage that. Councillor Burt.
Just so we get that right, the ones that, the workings behind the community group ones in pink, there's no way you'll be having, when those subordinate meetings come together, they won't be live streamed. Decision, because a lot of them like decision making as to who's going to get this prize, who's going to get this grant, all those sorts of things. You would never do that.
But they're open meetings, and then when they go into PX, the door is closed, so they are open to the community.
Yeah.
Ombudsman, are we talking about the previous one who gave us a bit of a kicking, and because we were one of the ones pulled out, or the new one? Doesn't seem to mind.
There's only one. It's like an old elected member. Okay, sorry, back on track. So requirement today. Any further questions? No. And so this stuff really is a work in progress. And so for new members, if there's something particular that we want to discuss in PX, public excluded, you've got to have a reason for that. And that's a decision that you make to go into public excluded to consider that. So that's the opportunity to test that at that time. Councillor Jackson.
Yeah, sorry, I did just have one other observation. And there might be a few groans about this one, but if we're talking about transparency and making sure that we're getting the public as engaged as we possibly can, so like a full meeting, to watch a full meeting online is quite onerous for many people, yeah? So is there any chance of having like an edited highlights package? Just asking, I knew there'd be some groans. But, more or less, and again, it will come down to resourcing, I get, but, yeah, I don't know.
Okay, go for it, Stephen, jump in.
Through the chair, I would say it's not realistic under current resourcing constraints. To edit 3 hours of video would be quite a task, and there would be some risk that the editor editorialises the content in doing so. So, although a verbatim meeting doesn't make the most thrilling of television, it's probably as sort of pure and to the point as you can get. I mean, we do help the process where possible. If you notice, all of the meetings now have a timestamp in the corner hard-coded onto the video, and there is always the title of the item being discussed at any time. So you can, if you want to send someone to a certain section of the video, you can actually do that through the existing YouTube, but actually sitting someone down and editing the video would probably be, it would carry some risks, and it would be quite an expensive.
Yeah, I thought that might be the answer, but I did sort of think that at the moment, the only highlights package you get is from the Timaru Herald, so,
That's a good example of editorialising it.
And I think there's some things off to the side, which is more that comm strategy around how you promote decisions of council and those sort of things. Sorry, Councillor Pitting, did you have something? No.
No, I'd just be against that because it's a type of censorship.
Yeah.
If we want to do that, get our PR, our press releases out, all the positive stuff, see how we go.
Back to you, Brendan.
Thank you very much. Just very briefly, back to clause 26 in the policy on page 266. So what would be useful if council is adopting this policy today in whatever guise is a clear understanding of its intention around council and its standing committees if you are to change the committee structure. So what I mean by that is, at the moment there's committees are tiered. There's full council, and then underneath that, other substantive standing committees, and then there are other committees off to the side. So what the policy is currently framed to do is to commit to that accessibility and transparency for those top tier ones. If under the new committee structure, it is clearly identified what those top tier ones are, then it's clear that the policy can reflect that. So I just want to raise that to make sure there's a degree of comfort. Otherwise, if too much of it is up in the air, then I'd probably recommend we could hold off looking at this policy until that committee structure is adopted and you're clearer in terms of what should be available and accessible, if that makes sense.
We can either wait or adopt and change. It's 6-1. I'm not worried either way.
Because when you think about that, we live stream audit and risk, but not people and performance, and they're on the same tier. So I would almost wait. But like you say, what's the difference between adopting it now and adopting it again in 2 weeks' time versus, I don't...
Yeah. 6-1.
For me, it just needs a really clear intention as to what you mean by clause 61 in that policy. As it currently reads under the existing structure, it's clear, but if things are changing, then we just want to be clear what that means, so we're really clear to the public and can have a clear and defendable position, I suppose.
Yeah.
So, certainly, I don't want you to adopt something, change the committee structure, and then for it to be unclear or your intention to not be adequately operationalised, is what I mean.
Yeah, look, I think in my view, is we just adopt and then we can make changes on that day too, if you're comfortable with that. Yeah.
The other thing I'd say, sorry, I'm going to take the opportunity to be slightly quick. Councillor Jackson, wouldn't the entire council meeting be a highlight? Sorry, that's me. That's me using my position up here. Sorry.
Okay, brilliant. Let's keep going. So, do you want to adopt? You're comfortable with adopting, and then we'll make changes on the fourth? Yep. Okay. So 1, 2, and 3. Can I have a mover for that, please? Councillor Burt. Thank you, Councillor Scott. No further discussion. I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. 7.13 to 69. Welcome, Andrew, and this is standing up of the Downlands Committee. And I know Councillor Scott had a question. Shannon, sorry. No. Councillor Shannon had a question just on that because we've previously had an appointment at a community board level historically. So, Mr. Lester.
Cool. Thank you, councillors. First up, I'll take it as read. A couple of highlights. Thank you to those that pointed out the map. Was from 2015, which reflects that's when that agreement was first drafted, signed. So that's why the map doesn't quite match what we have now. So yeah, that's the main one on that, and yeah, a bit of a test in there. So the key point is to get 5 members from Timaru onto the joint committee. There's 3 others from Waimea and Mackenzie. They have 1 each elected and a appointed independent. So 8 in total.
Alrighty, so we need to appoint some people. So, yeah, Councillor Shannon.
I just wanted to, first of all, before we start talking about the election of elected members, if you'd like to talk through the previous community board appointments and what the difference is, please.
So historically, and up to the last one, we had a member from Pleasant Point Community Board on it. From my investigations and conversation around the team, that reflects when Pleasant Point itself was supplied from the Downland scheme. It is no longer supplied from the Downland scheme, so it has its own source treatment plant.
Yeah, I think it was historically around when a lot of that work maybe was going on in certain aspects of the scheme as well, wasn't it? And the deputy mayor, that was previous appointment, and that I wonder if that reflects, reflects possibly Councillor Lyon being from that area. So it doesn't matter. So previously, Councillor Deputy Mayor Shannon chaired the committee. There will be some changes mid-27 on what this looks like as far as the structure, but we do need to appoint these members. So we need some volunteers. Yep. So you're happy to volunteer? Yep. Cool. Further, Councillor Shannon.
Got some nominations.
Nominations.
I'm going to volunteer people. How's that?
Perfect.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Yeah, from my experience chairing the committee for the last triennium, it is, of course, largely a scheme. It's a rural supply scheme, and what worked particularly well was the input from those, if not accessing rural schemes, but with great experience of those schemes. I was going to suggest that, of course, Councillor Scott be reappointed, also with interest in this end from up to the Mackenzie, Councillor Pye, and I was also going to nominate Councillor Harper from his experience in the Geraldine district as well. Those would be my nominations.
In the end, we had Councillor Harper, Councillor Scott, yes, and oh yeah, cool. Did you want? Yeah, no, that's three. Everyone comfortable with that? Yeah, good mix. Yeah, perfect. This is not an overly onerous one, and it is well chaired, and it will have to discuss probably transition arrangements, etc., with the new schemes, etc., with the changes in mid-27. So we have those members. I think we can move that all as a whole. Yep, we've only got those three. There's no one else fighting for a seat around the table? No? Okay, perfect. I'm happy to move that as a whole, 1, 2, and so we don't need the voting system. Have a seconder for that? Yep. Councillor Wilson, thank you. No further discussion. I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. Move now to 287 and then 289. So these are proxies effectively for the AGM. So normally proxy would be myself, and then would need backup. So I just need someone that is going to be in attendance of those meetings. You will all get invites to those AGMs, and it's well worth attending. One, to meet and I think we've got some workshops and other stuff tied up with that as well, but it is worth attending so you can meet the directors and what have you. So someone else that's definitely going to be... Oh, yeah, Holdings one, yep. So we'll go myself for both, and then Councillor Scott as far as the Holdings, and then, yes, yep, and then Councillor Jackson as far as Venture Timaru. Oh, sorry, I've got to do it one by one, so I forgot. We're doing Holdings. So doing Holdings, yes, perfect, thank you. So I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. And then we'll do VT. So that was myself and Councillor Jackson. Any further discussion? No, I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. The first one was... Oh, did I not get a mover and a seconder? No, I don't think I did. Councillor Pye, Councillor Pittington, sorry, put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. And then so we've got the next two. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself, I know. And then a mover and seconder for those, Councillor Burt Councillor Thomas, thank you. Put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Thank you. What we do without you, Jess? I don't know. So we've got no urgent business, minor nature, no public items. So I will declare the meeting closed. So congratulations. Nothing too exciting, but in the upcoming meetings there'll be decisions to make. So well done, welcome, and looking forward to the next few months as we lead into Christmas and we get everyone up to speed around the table. Thank you.